Hello and welcome. My name is Robert Lyon, your favorite host. I'm ready to rock and roll. We got Drew and Andrew here together. They are the tiny home guys, and they have an amazing business. GeoPro Prefab is the name of their company. And basically, they have a unique way of solving the housing crisis, helping people get tiny homes just about anywhere in the country. And I'm just super excited to have them on the show and just kind of talk to them.
Okay, yeah. So I'm Andrew Grinde, and I'm the older Andrew in this group. And from Montana, I grew up on a farm there. I was blessed with the opportunity to go to the East Coast for school, and from there I started my first company. And it was not in this space, but I started entrepreneurship as soon as I started classes at Yale, and from there is just all I ever wanted to do. And I got into real estate because it was a very fundamentally sound game, as a good way to build a foundation as I approached it. And so I built a portfolio in Miami, and Scottsdale, and Austin in my first 3 years outside of Yale. I guess my senior year was online because of COVID. And with all that, I started expanding, and I got to the point where I wanted to get into building tiny home resorts. And around that time is Drew had already been helping me build my portfolio, and Drew and I started to really consider all the mechanisms of what's been going behind a tiny home resort. And the main thing was that we couldn't find any suppliers that could actually provide us a home in time. And so we got to the point where we are today with the foundation that we realize there's really limited manufacturing capabilities going on right now, or there was at the time. And instead of just building resorts, now we've kind of pivoted into something much more meaningful in our lives, which is providing affordable housing. And so now it's, our day to day is just trying to find affordable housing developers. And yeah, so I just come a long way from farming in Montana, and really happy to be on the show with you, and happy to be partners with Drew.
Drew pretty much said it all there. So, but for me, I'm from Cleveland, Ohio. I grew up, went to a Jesuit school there for high school, and then now I'm in Indianapolis. But yeah, similar to Drew, I was very interested in the real estate investing. And then through meeting Drew, I was able to learn more about short-term rentals and various ways to invest in real estate. And through that, Drew and I came together and noticed that we have a real vehicle here and a real ability here to provide more affordable housing. And took that with our manufacturing processes and the builders that we know, and started building this company.
Did you go to college, or what what was your kind of background? Just REI,
Yeah.
Interested?
Yeah, Butler University. I didn't go to Yale like Drew.
And I was gonna say, when going
like
to
that.
Yale, man, like it's like a name drop right there. It's kind of cool. So you guys both kind of had an interest in real estate investing, though, like a passion for it. And then you guys just kind of wanted to do tiny home resorts. Did you guys did you have a spot that you wanted to build one? Like what kind of like piqued the first interest with the tiny homes, I guess?
So we did, and it was primarily based on one of our main manufacturers in Pennsylvania, just because they had the land to do it. And it was just a good spot because it's beautiful, and all these scenic pictures you can take around it. And ultimately, however, we looked at it, but we started to notice that not only did we pivot because of like the social impacts that we wanted to have, is not just building tiny home resorts. We realized that we couldn't find suppliers, as I mentioned. They're all backed up for so many months, 8 months on average. It almost seemed like at the time, for at least the quality tiny homes we could find, quality prefabs. And we realized that in our network, we have a lot of people that can build these, people that maybe haven't even thought of it yet, but we can also keep learning as we go and absorb how it's actually done by those that have done it before, or that are just really creative and can learn right on the spot. And in that process, we started to notice that the numbers, if we're talking strictly business, are dramatically better if we're just manufacturing to sell rather than just building tiny home resorts. And there's obviously different revenue streams there and different ways of scaling. But with that being said, and the social impact and how we can actually improve society rather than just being ones that are making money on it, we took a hard turn and just quickly just started focus on manufacturing. So we haven't even built a tiny home resort.
I guess that's kind of fun though. So I want to know, like, I guess at the beginning, right? You guys were both interested in real estate, but let's go back just real quick again to the past. What kind of real estate investing were you looking into? What kind of inspired you with just real estate in the beginning? What was it that sparked your interest? And then how'd you actually like get your first house, or how'd you start building a portfolio?
For me, my first was, I was riding that train of apartment syndication.
Yeah.
at least with the studies. And I actually dropped out of college to start a company doing that in Seattle, and it failed miserably because raising capital is pretty hard if you're, 18-year-old dropout.
Yeah.
And ended up going back and decided I was going to go study economics, gain the credibility. And I tried buying a number of quadruplexes while I was at Yale, and they all went through because I didn't have any income. And so I was trying to maneuver, get a lot of people to co-sign and put the down payment. And I was just structuring deals, and a lot of it just came down to the lender not wanting to give loans. But ultimately, I caught my break, and I ended up just meeting the right people to encourage me to move to Miami. It was right when COVID struck, because I said I spent my senior year off campus because of COVID, and that's where I was. And that's when I started managing vacation rentals. And in the process, I gathered the money I needed and found the partners I needed to start buying vacation rentals. So then I ended up building a portfolio there, and then Drew's help started expanding to other states such as Arizona, and ended up with a pretty sizable portfolio for at least from what I was expecting. I didn't get to the point of what I was wanting because I ended up not wanting to just pursue this for the rest of my life. It actually goes against a lot of my values now that I'm really thinking about how buying single family homes and turning them into vacation rentals actually takes away the supply of affordable homes, or just homes in general, which then kind of trickles down to a degree. And so I started selling a lot of it, but ultimately we got to the point where we had a $60 million portfolio, and it was all doing well. But at the same time, once I saw the numbers and the potential and the social impact with this business, to me, it just became like, I can't wait to take a pivot from this as well.
Awesome. So then now we fast forward to now. How big is your guys' team?
Yeah, so right now we're manufacturing in 4 states. So we started in PA, we've expanded into Montana, Kentucky, and Florida, to where each of those states, they have the reason for choosing those 4 states was because with Pennsylvania, we could really hit that Northeast region. With Montana, Drew has the already established connections there to where we can hit more of that West Coast. Kentucky is in a fantastic spot right now because the amount of homes that they will need in the next 3 years. And then in Florida is obviously just a great place to be manufacturing. So we've expanded our team and are continuously expanding our team to where Drew and I are more so the co-founders, making sure that everything's happening. We're working with these real estate developers. And then we have our fantastic builders pretty much across the US now.
So you guys have like multiple locations where you guys build them. Is it just like a lot where you guys basically manufacture everything? Like how big are these little spots? And I mean, what's it kind of look like?
At each of those locations, we can open up multiple bays. And at those bays, we can be working on one home at a time. And then through having that one home in that one bay, we were able to manufacture rather quickly and get homes out fast because we can have 1 to 6, 7 homes being built at a time at a given location.
So you have like 6 homes pumping them out, and then you can deliver them anywhere in the country. It's like you can make a custom made house, you can put it on a truck, and you can ship it just about anywhere in the country. And I think that's like the biggest, coolest thing. So do you guys have like a big, audacious, crazy goal? Are we trying to like solve homelessness? Are we trying just to like make affordable housing? Are we trying to make the coolest, tiny home you possibly can? Or like what kind of motivates you guys right now to keep building the business and keep moving forward?
Affordable housing crisis is first and foremost. And it's not just with Drew and I, we're both very ambitious. We're not just thinking United States when we say that either, but
oh, cool.
This is where we're based and this is where we'll start. But yeah, it's driven by the passion to give people shelter to the very least, but also shelter they actually really enjoy. Tiny homes can have their stigma, but every time I'm in one, I kind of want to just move inside of one. It's a simplicity style of living, and they push the minimalism these days, and that's something that I actually believe a lot of people living in them will find a lot of peace and joy in it. And so I really see a lot of value being added through these, not just from our homes, but just the whole trend that's flowing right now. It's obviously just a creation of what was necessary. It was very necessary. It's just getting worse and worse, and it's getting harder to build. Even with that being said, stick-built homes and multifamily apartments and anything like that is getting harder to build just because we're getting more crowded. And so this is just a nice release valve to all that pressure building in the housing market. And I see the value add being that we can be one of the leaders designing that release valve and at least encouraging and inspiring more of these kind of creative ways to provide alternative housing.
And what are you guys most excited about in the business right now? What's kind of got you guys fired up?
Honestly, especially with the newer company, us going for a little over a year now, there's a lot to be excited about because as a new company, there's a lot of growth happening at the very beginning. For us, we're working with some great developers to where we could have some very large projects happening early 2024, and those will be the initial projects that we do with them. So those ones go rather well and are successful, then it'll just lead to more developments to where how we see it as being able to work with these developers is the actual true way to provide affordable housing, because they're the ones who can build these communities. And through our pricing and our financing options, we're able to help these developers give an affordable rent to their tenants.
What state are you guys seeing the biggest boom right now, like, or the most interest in?
I've been spending a lot of time in Kentucky. It's been a fantastic market. There is a lot of development happening there.
Cool.
Ford's moving there with a huge plant, and with that plant, there's going to become more business around there. There's a lot of jobs are coming to Kentucky. So I was actually just there, just got back late last night. Kentucky is right now somewhere that we're seeing a lot of room for growth.
If you look at just a list of those states from 1 to 50 and those that have the highest amount of homelessness, that's a pretty simple way to determine if there's going to be some type of demand for products. But then you have to also consider whether they're actually going to be favorable for manufactured housing and accessory dwelling units. Like California, that's a big thing. We want to tap into accessory dwelling units more and more as well. But for us, scale is going to coincide with providing homes to developers, 20 at a time is like on average what we're being asked for. And so in a place like Kentucky, it's considered, if not the most, it's considered one of the most favorable states for manufactured housing right now. And that's a big reason why it's all right. And it's also on Drew's back door. So it's really easy to get down there for every weekend. It seems like he's there for a meeting. And so, yeah, just good place for us to keep targeting. But we have Texas, where I'm based, is also booming with it. Lots of people coming in. And so Austin's kind of spearheading that, because Austin's creating a lot of zoning laws right now where they're going to be like San Francisco, to the point where you can basically just get a single family zoned lot and build 3 units on it. They're pushing these laws through. And that means they're really noticing how desperate they're going to be for housing soon, because so many people are going there. And so like places like these, like Austin, they're building tiny home communities at a rapid pace, just like they're building RV parks for long-term guests or whatever you want to call them. And so, Texas is going to be continuing to spearhead that, just because Texas is booming. And then I'm sure Florida's not that much different. It's just Florida's Florida.
Am I thinking, like, when these developers buy like 20 of your tiny homes, what does it kind of look like? Is it like a tiny home community?
Yeah. It's actually pretty cool, some of the ideas these developers are coming up with. So you'll see the typical neighborhood, just a road going through, and you have homes on either side. But a developer we're working with in Texas, her and the other investors that she's working with are looking to build like a pocket community. So with that pocket community, it's very, nature oriented. So some of the ideas that we're seeing are pretty awesome. And it's a pleasure to work with them.
How'd you guys build your first like tiny home? Like, were you just like messing around with some like train stuff?
Yeah, we saw the trend of shipping container homes. The shipping container homes were a trend that was, really growing. You see it all the time on Airbnb, and we have the crew to be able to build one of these. So let's just try it. Yeah. Tried it out, worked out really well. There's a lot of trial and error with that, but it's something that you perfect those processes, you find those areas to where you can improve, and now it's to where we can very simply mass produce those.
There's two things that you guys are nailing, right? You got the problem, the big problem that you can solve is the housing crisis. And then you also have the opportunity for investors to come in and buy multiple little tiny homes or developments that are kind of new and have a house that can basically be put out there. So I think those are the coolest things. And then the fact that you have a connection with developers that are basically already bringing what you guys are doing to the real world is an amazing opportunity. Yeah.
You hit a great point there, to where there's problems that we're able to solve. And what we focus and we build our company around these 3 problems that we see is driving the unaffordable housing. It's the lack of supply, it's the financing, and it's the labor force. So we're able to hit those 3 points very well. So we can increase the supply through our manufacturing processes and our ability to have multiple places where we're building. But that's the same thing with our labor force. It's where we have labor in 4 different states, and we're growing that labor force to where it's never going to be an issue to build these. And when it
Mm.
comes to financing these, we'll seller finance them. So we have our own terms that we will look at your credit worthiness to make sure that the financing makes sense. So it's kind of hitting those 3 points so we truly can be the people providing affordable housing.
Do the houses come like fully furnished when they show up, or how do they kind of show up?
Yeah, your home's going to arrive fully move-in ready. You'll have
Cool.
everything but the kitchen appliances and furniture. Shipping with kitchen appliances is typically a nightmare, especially if we're taking them from Pennsylvania to Texas. There's a lot that can happen. So yeah, you'll have a home that once it arrives on your site and you put it on your foundation and connect it to all of your septic, utilities, electrical, your home's pretty much ready to live in.
Yeah, and that's also something we kind of assume most people are gonna have the preferences to go and shop for their own appliances and furniture, and it's just easier that way, as Drew said. So
Yeah.
we haven't even thought about it. We have been asked that it's always we'll order for you if you want us to, but it's gonna arrive on your site and you're still gonna have to put it in. But a lot of the appliances you just have to do a few hookups that take about 20 minutes.
And then you guys just made up the names, like this is the Voyager, right? And supposedly the bestseller. But I think it's cool, man. I think these are all really kind of fun to look at. Looks really nice, very modern, clean. You got look at this bath. I don't know about the windows with the bath right there, but it'll be whatever, kind of interesting.
So to preface with that home right there, that one's used as a short-term rental. So
Yeah.
they're not concerned on that one with
Yeah, you're in the middle of nowhere, a little country.
Yeah, so you don't see much storage there, but our base model, which we will be updating the website soon since we just went through a rebranding.
Yeah.
We will have one that has more storage, and we can make it to where it's a very comfortable living space.
Those photos are without the curtains. There's curtains in a bedroom by that bathtub, and in these individuals' use of it, they turned it into a short-term rental, and yeah.
These are kind of cool. You got to have the roof kind of slanted, right? Otherwise water will collect, or does it not matter? I mean, this is very pretty, but I'm just wondering if it's architecture, like that's why you did it basically.
It's a big reason. It is aesthetics, but also we can build roofs that are flat, but it's a lot easier if you just add a little slant, and it's a lot happier about it that way too. So
cool. Yeah, it looks so nice in here, and these are Airbnb ready right now. So I think it's pretty cool. And you can let people pick their colors and stuff. Oasis, little tiny homes. This has like a top deck that you can hang out on. That's cool.
Yeah, and one point too is we can grab designs from each of these different sizes of container homes that you're seeing and bring them to, like, we can make this a 40-foot container model as well.
Nice.
It's just on the website market is 20-foot, but that is something we're able to do.
Yeah. And then you can also put the wheels on it. I thought this was kind of cool. So you can put the wheels on it and hook it up to a trailer and drag your house around wherever you want, right? So,
yeah, and when it's on wheels like that, it's less rigorous when it comes to getting the permitting and when they're on wheels, because they're considered like RV certified homes, or they can be considered RV certified homes, and therefore we're not actually attaching them and making them single family dwellings, which means they don't have to go through all those different loopholes to put a home down, especially if it's in their backyard, for example. Then it's a really difficult process sometimes.
And like you have an AC unit. I mean, you can just trick these things out to the max, right? So they can literally have, like, it's a tiny home, but it'll have hot water, it'll have AC, it'll have everything that anybody needs, right? Yeah. That's so cool, man. So do you guys just spend like most of your nights just like thinking of crazy houses and how you want to build them, or what kind of fires you guys up about these?
In all honesty, I do spend most of our weekends thinking of new designs. We have our newest model that'll be coming out here soon. We are kind of finalizing a little bit.
So this is the new model?
Yeah, this will be the new model, just some very basic renderings. This will have finalized before the end of the year for sure.
Cool.
But this new model will be ready to go. Not a shipping container home, fully modular home to where we will build it to their residential code.
Cool.
And this will be ready very soon.
So do you guys think 2024 is going to be your biggest year? You guys ready? You got some stuff cooking up? It's going to just take it to the next level?
Yeah, absolutely. It's this year. I mean, we started this business formally I think it was Q2 of 2023. So it just grown a lot faster than we thought. Every single month we've changed something substantial in the process. We're just innovating, and we're just, thinking of new approaches to this industry. How can we sell the most effectively? How can we scale the most effectively? How can we help others in the industry, just so we can collectively provide more affordable homes in general? And we're soon, I think going to be close to the point where it's like, all right, now it's just close on deals nonstop. And then, in the future, we'll take some more time because we're going to reinvest everything we make and just keep trying to build. So future will determine what's next. But
well, I mean, solving the housing crisis is not a small feat. You know what I mean? So kudos to you guys for fighting the good problems and waking up every day and going hard on this business, man. I think it's pretty awesome. And I mean, I definitely want some tiny homes myself. So that's why I wanted to bring you guys on the podcast and talk about tiny homes, look at them. I'm just shopping. I'm ready to get one of these pretty soon. If somebody wants to buy a tiny home, how involved are they in like the design and stuff like that?
So it's like what Drew, he alluded to earlier, to where the other models that we have, what's in those models, we could easily put that into, the square footage or whatever home that you're looking at putting it in. We are very open. So when it comes to those larger orders to where we are working with the developers, we're open to designs. And if they have some ideas where they want to make some changes, we're definitely very open to that. It's also if we're looking at the container homes, we need to look at the structural integrity of the actual home. So if there's anything that will be taken out that'll sacrifice any of the structural integrity, because if you take something out of the shipping container, you have to put something back in to make sure you don't have any drooping walls or anything like that. So for those, it's just making sure we maintain the structural integrity, that you're going to get a home that's going to last long, but we'll make sure that it looks nice and it's an enjoyable space to live in.
Yeah. And on top of that, if a developer is ordering enough, we will customize from the ground up for them. We would completely come up with a whole new design. For those ordering one or two, we have a set list of customization opportunities, such as a skylight above your bedroom. So it's just a window that you can look at the stars when you're going to sleep, for example, and it's just an extra cost. And then when it comes to interior finishes, we're allowing it to where they can customize and they have some say in how it's going to look inside and from just what you saw in those photos. But it's more so only before the order, because we've had a few where it's like we start the order, then they start coming with more and more customs, so we backtrack and then we have to go forward again. So we're avoiding that. But otherwise, we're trying to obviously do whatever we can to make our customers happy. So.
And man, just because I'm curious, where are you guys getting the shipping containers? Are they just like everywhere? You guys have like a random place you just go pick them up and start putting them into houses?
There's multiple ports that we can pull shipping containers from. So we'll never be at a shortage of shipping containers. There's actually an abundance really right now in the United States. Yeah. So that's never really been one of our concerns. You can get them really from all over.
Do you think they're going to withstand like hurricanes and tornadoes and stuff like that? Are they pretty sturdy? Like they're pretty solid little houses?
Yeah, I would say the main consideration when determining that, especially with our containers, given that those exterior shells of containers are
pretty tough to
withstand for the most of their existence. And so the main thing you have to consider is windows. And in hurricanes, the homes I own in Miami, I can't get in home insurance if I don't have hurricane proof windows, for example. So we will always be building according to where our individuals or customers are living. So if they're in Florida, we definitely will be adding hurricane proof windows, because otherwise I don't think they'd be able to get insurance for the home after they actually attach to their land. And so it's all just dependent, but they're as strong as any home, if not stronger. They're obviously more compact, which helps. So worst case, if a hurricane comes, you might be able to float with it for a while.
And how are you financing this company? Do you guys have investors, or have you guys looked at like grants, or how are you guys doing it?
No, it's basically just been retained earnings. We're bootstrapping for sure. Yeah.
So what's the big goal? Like, what do you guys see happening for your company? What's like what do you guys see happening? How can we like help you guys get to the next level? What are you hoping the business does? And do you want to become the go-to tiny home company in the United States and then go worldwide? Like, what's the big goal that you guys have?
So the thing is, Drew and I have so many extensive conversations about this. It's a very large goal to where we are the main provider of affordable housing. And so our plan is to continue working on our manufacturing processes, expanding the locations to where we are manufacturing, so that we are the people to where, if you need a home and you need it quick. So like what you alluded to, if there were natural disasters or situations like that, we can provide disaster relief housing, but we're also working with these developers to where we are able to manufacture our homes very efficiently and provide affordable housing. We are working on some other models that are a little bit just outside of housing. So it's just purely like prefabricated saunas and cold plunges. We're working on putting those into
cool.
one structure. But it's, we're trying to take a holistic approach to our company right now. It's where we're able to provide housing, So someone has a suitable and enjoyable place to live. We're working on the health aspect with those saunas and cold plunges. And then Drew, this is something with bringing his good old Montana into this, to where we're very interested in building hydroponic farms in the future as well. So we have some very large goals. We're very ambitious, and we know exactly where we can take this company down the road.
One house at a time, right? One tiny house.
Exactly.
There's just so many cool ideas there. Like I was in the oil field and we'd always have to bring like a trailer, but you guys could just have a tiny home that you put out there on the oil field. Farms, like bees, homeless people, like everybody needs a place to live or a place to at least stop and chill for a little while, right? So the possibilities are endless, man. It's exciting. I'm just excited about your business for you guys. So I think this is cool.
I was just thinking about this the other day. I might subconsciously be really into these container homes and container prefabs in general, because I grew up on a farm in Montana and in Oilmont, Montana, and there's always people drilling on my dad's land and around as well. He didn't own all the mineral rights or a share, but he didn't have any say, and so there'd always be these container offices surrounded big rigs and everything going on, and I was fascinated with the whole idea of they're just living in, because I sometimes saw people think where they're just shacking up in them as well because they're in the middle. I always thought about that, and now I'm supplying them, and that's another thing we wouldn't be opposed to getting into is container offices and prefab offices.
But it's endless, man. It's endless. You guys are gonna master creating these amazing tiny homes that people can live in, supply homes for people that can't afford regular conventional homes. And you guys think, like, how fast do you think you guys could make? Like, if you guys really pumped it, how many do you think you could make a month of these tiny homes, if you had to guess?
So typically our build time frame has been 4 to 6 weeks. When we're building them in large quantities, it can be much faster that because we're bringing in materials in bulk. So it'll really vary depending on the project, and that's something that we'll make sure that the developer knows time frame. But typically, the more that we're building, the more materials we can bring in at one time, and the faster we can build the homes.
Wow. So 4 to 6 weeks and a house is done, just like boom.
4 to 6 weeks. The ideal process is, as we're building their homes, within that 4 to 6 weeks, the developer is working on their site preparation. So once say they're buying 20, they're working the site preparation for that first 5. We'll complete those first 5 in those 4 to 6 weeks, ship them out on the back of a truck. They're picked up by a crane when they're on site, put on the site prep. Right when those homes leave, we're starting the next 5. And we hope that they're starting the next 5 site preparations.
What have you guys been learning a lot lately, or as entrepreneurs? Is there anything recently you've had some epiphanies or anything that you've been learning lately?
Not an epiphany to a degree. I just love the art of scale, just how quickly things can go from 0 to 1 and then from 1 to infinity. I think about it a lot, how quickly things can change if you master a system and make it one that's repeatable and profitable, and riding with that while sticking to what and just being wise with the capital management of your company to ensure that you don't get spread too thin, and then just, like I said, iterating the process, and scale can quickly change things.
Well, a big one for us, I mean, we're 2 very young founders, and for us, you can read about anything, you can talk about anything, but when you're actually in the fire, you actually are running the business, there's a lot of punches that'll come at you. Things will never really go as planned. And for us, it's just the ability to adapt to that, and everything that we've read about, the stuff that we've been studying, it's actually putting that in action rather than just having it in theory.
Right.
So it's really rolling with the punches. And for us, we realize that we are doing something that is providing good to society. So it's, kind of keeping that as, our thought in everything that we do. So it's really just staying true to our mission and being able to adapt to any adversity.
And being flexible. Just reading the Patagonia founders book, Let My People Go Surfing, and he says the best leaders always create chaos, and it's not the form that everyone's afraid of. It's more so the chaos that makes you feel like you need to keep placing order upon it, which leads to growth. But it's just like always ensure there's something to be doing. And for Drew and I, we have very active minds on that, so we continue to find creative solutions or flexible ways we can go about moving forward that we otherwise wouldn't have thought of. and we're adapting our company quite a bit day to day. And if we were rigid, I don't know where we'd be right now. So
Yeah, you guys are still in the beginning stage. What's cool about this is like if you're listening out there, like anybody can buy a tiny home, and then but you guys are like your ideal customer is like developers, right? That want to like build out like a whole little city in these big states and these big towns. And you guys have how have you guys found those people? That's just I guess what I'm curious about. And how can you find more, you think?
A lot of it is just our outreach. We will find these upcoming developments. We'll be just basically staying in the news, seeing what's coming up. We've really been allocating a lot of our capital towards the actual manufacturing of the homes and being able to perfect what the home looks like and how the home is actually built. We haven't been putting a lot of our capital towards marketing yet, which is something we will be doing here soon. So a lot of it's just been our own outreach, referrals. We've been speaking with past contacts we have, and those contacts typically know somebody, and then that person knows somebody. So it's just kind of like a domino effect there. And being able to really just use the connections that we have.
I'm just thinking now because most of my investors, right, they're always about trying to like buy more land, buy more real estate, build more stuff on it, right? So now my brain is just going like, hey, what if I find some more developers that want to build this up, and then I make a little money on every little house, right? You can scale it up, right? And that's how you guys can work together, and that's how everybody out there can make some money. Because I mean, $80,000 is pretty cool for a tiny home. You put it in California, that's 40 months, right? At $2,000 per little tiny home per rent. That's a couple of years and you'll have your money back. The benefits is exponential. Like how long do you think a tiny home will last? It'll last forever, right? Or at least like a good 20 years before it needs too much maintenance. And other than that, like probably more than that too. What do you guys think on the last?
as long as all the materials used to build them and we're using quality materials last, then they should last for longer than most homes.
Yeah.
And that's why we have our own architects on our team. We
Yeah.
work very closely with them. We'll bring them ideas. We'll bring our architects and our builders so many ideas. And sometimes they tell us, all right, you guys need to slow down. That's really not that feasible.
Yeah.
So we bring them the ideas and they kind of, smooth it out for us. And
Nice.
they're the experts. So we're going to trust on everything that they know.
Yeah. I mean, my brain goes to, like I said, there's two kinds of people. There's like investors, and then you're also solving a really big problem. Like you guys should have a Kickstarter where people can help you grow your business to help solve the housing crisis, right? Not a Kickstarter, but like some sort of fund where people could invest, and it doesn't have to be invest. It could just be donate to help the housing crisis. And then you could have another fund where investors can put their money into this and they can pool their money to buy little developments and start to build tiny home communities and stuff like that, right? Those are my two big things that I think of when I think of like this opportunity, because it's like, yeah, everybody knows nobody can afford a freaking house in America anymore. Like in order for me to buy houses and I've got money, I've got to be super crafty and skillful and do a bunch of crazy shit. So I can't imagine the average American anymore being able to afford a house. So there's just stuff that goes through my mind when it's like, how can we help people get affordable housing? And the way to do it is, like you guys said, have investors or have people come in that build these communities and then allow people to rent them for a good price. And I mean, this is just where the world's going to be heading anyways, is like people need more houses. They don't need big ass houses either. It's kind of a funny thing. Like I know all these millionaires, they have like 6, 10, 20 rooms and then they only hang out in one. And then actually nobody lives at the house except for their dog or something.
Our original suburban push, back in I think it was like the 1950s or so, 1960s, we really started just getting, I don't know, maybe we were just splurging because we were getting out of the city, but Americans just love to building massive homes. And you see that here in Houston. And if you go to the suburbs in Houston, every home's like 3,500 square feet minimum, it seems like. And so, yeah, and then you just think about now how many people need homes and all that space that could have been used to provide more. So, yeah, I agree with you. It's a natural evolution that we've built all the big homes we probably need. And now it's time for more reasonable ones. And I know our generation is much less inclined to feel like they need all that space. Like our generation is environmentally oriented, and we're just trying, like I was mentioning earlier, minimalism, that movement is, becoming larger and larger. It's people that just find more happiness without having to need so much. And they can just then feel free to just roam. My dad surprised me the other day. He told me that he's thinking about selling. He has a couple properties and a lot of land, and he's thinking about selling most of it and just buying a big motorhome and just wandering around the country for a while until he finds a dream home. And he is one of those that lives in big homes in the suburbs, right? So it's just a natural change now.
Yeah. Well, everything gets bigger, like the old big ass cell phone, and then everything gets smaller again. So it's an ongoing thing. But I mean, most people just need a place to sleep and they're at work all the time anyways, because they can't afford it. You just need tiny homes, man. You're good to go. What's the best way for people to get in contact with you guys, or to buy a tiny home, or just to reach out and have a conversation?
Yeah, so we have emails is sales@geoproprefabs.com. And our website, you can go and see this all. It's geoproprefabs.com. And on there, we have a link to schedule an appointment, and also there's a cell phone number that they can call and will be answered anytime, or at least responded to quickly if not answered. But I guess the best way would be go to the website, and then they can see there's a contact tab on there. They can go and check everything out.
Are you guys on Instagram or LinkedIn or anywhere?
We are rebranding all of those right now. Recently changed the company name. So all of that's being updated, but that'll be up here soon.
So GeoPro Prefabs is pretty much what they're going to look up.
Yeah.
Prefabs. What is a prefab? What does that mean? It's just like prefabricated homes, right? So worldwide prefabricated homes is basically
any type of home that's not site built, which means you were building the foundation, you're building the framing all on the site of where the home's going to be for the rest of its existence. What prefab home is basically like building in a factory, and whether it's coming in pieces and then being put together, or coming in one big piece. It's just building basically offsite and then ship.
I've always had a plan to buy a bunch of land, and like, I don't know, I wanted to put a bunch of tiny homes on there, and like they can pay to live on the property if they take care of the land, right? And then you just have a bunch of tiny homes and they can like afford to live there and stuff. So it's always been one of my little mild goals, but I think that's pretty cool. Well, I don't know, I've had a good time talking. I want to definitely get some houses. People can go check out the website if they want to get in contact with you. So I've got 3 questions that I ask everybody that comes on the show, and I'll kind of put you guys on the spot. So I'm the money guy, right? So basically I want to know what's some sort of lesson that you guys have learned, or what's some advice that you would give people about making more money, handling their money, just anything in the realm of money.
Debt must be taken on only when you're 100% certain how you're going to manage it for the rest of its existence.
Yeah. Risk management of debt.
Risk management of debt. If you don't do it well, it will drive you crazy. It would make it really hard for you to focus.
Honestly, I was thinking more of the debt route too. That's something we talk about rather frequently. So pretty much I'm going to back what Drew said right there. It's probably the first one that comes to mind.
Yeah. So just manage your debt. If you're going to take on debt, know what you're going to fucking do with it. Don't go buck wild, basically.
Have backup plans. For example, if you're taking on mortgages with a single family rental, be aware that it may not work out as you wish. And so you should have backup plans and exit strategy and, things like that.
Yeah, dude. That's one thing nobody talks about in real estate is like the tenants are not always going to pay the bills. You got to have extra money from somewhere. You got to figure it out, especially nowadays. You can't even buy a house and cash flow on them because of the interest rates are so high. Exactly. It's wild.
It sounds sexy to buy a house right now, and I would never recommend it right now, but unless you have a really good plan. But if your tenants stop paying, your mortgage lender doesn't give two shits.
And the next question is happiness, right? How have you guys found more happiness? What would you give somebody listening out there who wants to find more happiness or be happier in their lives? What have you guys found, or what makes you guys happy?
I'd say mission-driven living. Doesn't always have to be about business, but just living with a mission that's bigger than yourself. And I would say one of those missions is maintaining a very strong family. That's, I would say, a really good, easy way to stay happy through all the chaos, because it's always going to provide doses of order to it. So
my biggest thing has been having a purpose, knowing exactly what that is, and then being able to, if your goal is to be a millionaire, you have to have habits like a millionaire first. So you can't just magically become one. So whatever that goal is, whatever you strive to be one day, it's building up the habits and doing the necessary things every single day so you can hit that end goal. So for me, it's been being the person who can provide for my family, make sure that my family, not even everything, but have the freedom to do what we want and live a happy life. So for me, it's what do I have to do today in order to get to that goal?
That's the next question. What's one habit that you have implemented that has had like a genuine impact on your life? Like something that you've done every day that you can actually say, look, I started doing that and something happened.
Maintaining a really strong orientation around my health. And that's not necessarily a habit, but all the habits that coincide with that, such as a really clean diet for the most part, until I open a bottle of wine, then it kind of goes out the door every now and then. Clean diet and, you know, a lot of exercise. I run every day. To me, it's mainly just mentally driven. It's not really because I want to just, I'm always trying to look better or improve my cardiovascular health. It's just like I operate much better when I go on a run, for example. And it's just when you're healthy, you feel a lot better. And when you feel a lot better, you're more clear. When you're clear, you make better decisions. When you make better decisions, things tend to go in a positive direction more often than not. So
Cool.
Yeah, Drew took mine on the health aspect. The health aspect is very important for me, but one thing that I've implemented actually this year is practicing mindfulness. I've found that to be very important to where everything that I'm doing, I can try to do with a clear head, even on those days where you wake up with mind fog. Practicing mindfulness, I've found is extremely beneficial, and it has really helped me with my performance in really everything that I do.
Well, I think this is a great show, man. I think we dropped a lot of fire. Do you guys have any last thoughts before we kind of wrap up, or any other messages you want to share with the crowd?
one important note that I always like to mention when talking about the affordable housing crisis is that when in America, we tend to be American centric, and we forget about the rest of the world and how humans are also humans, you know, in any other country. But if you look at the statistics of affordable housing, the United States actually is not doing that bad. Obviously, it's a problem here, but if you relate it to a place like Nigeria, their affordable housing crisis is around, like, let's say they were about 24 million plus people that don't have a home there, whereas here it's, let's say, 500,000. And so when thinking about these things, I always think if anyone's trying to get into this space where they're trying to provide homes and housing and shelter in general, to think outside of the box and think outside of the United States as well, not just focusing on here. But this is a great incubator, as Drew and I were just talking about. It's a great incubator for doing more outside and not just, you know, focusing on the United States. But
my last thoughts, I appreciate you having us on today. We were excited to be on here, and this has honestly been a very fun conversation. So it's you know, a blessing to be able to do this with you.
Well, anybody listening out there, I want you guys to reach out, especially if anybody who wants to buy a tiny house. So you guys can go to GeoPro Prefabs.com, and you guys will be able to send them a message. Drew and Drew here are actively trying to grow their brand and their business. Where's the events that you guys are going to be going to this year?
Only one we have scheduled right now is the Louisville Home Show. So it'll be that one. That one's a huge show. A lot of great people will be there. But we're planning on going to more events across the U.S. So you may see Drew and I driving a pickup truck with a tiny home trailing behind it.
Are you guys like rubbing elbows with other home like businesses and home people at these events? Is that kind of like big? Is it a big like following of like home builders or whatever it is?
Yeah, it's pretty wide variety of people there, but yeah, there are a lot of home builders there. So you'll be able to check out what's happening in the rest of the market. But there's also a lot of developers, people who are just genuinely interested. So for us, it's a great way for us to grow really the market, which is already growing. Try and attempt to at least, and work with some great people and even get some new ideas.
And then I think you guys can do tiny homes just about everywhere. Have you guys ever tried to like think about Alaska or Hawaii, or are those kind of the only places that might not get the tiny homes right now?
Well, Alaska would be a lot easier just because we're not putting on a
drive it there.
I mean, these things can be shipped overseas, so it's
anywhere.
It's really just if the customer from Hawaii wants it so bad that they're coming to us, then we're just gonna let them know up front that the shipping costs are probably gonna be pretty absurd, but it's still gonna be more affordable than most structures in Hawaii at this point. So
right, there you go. All right, cool guys. So you guys can get your tiny homes. I appreciate you listening. Until next one, be sure to reach out to Andrew and Drew, and they'll be there to help you with your tiny home needs. And I'll talk to you in the next one. See ya.